Oh. Satchidanandarupaya Vishvotpatyadihetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Numaha. Janmadyasya yatonvayaditaratascharteshvabhignaswarat Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye Muhyanti Yat Surayaha Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrisha Dhamna Svena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi Dharma Projita Kaitavotra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam Vedyam Vastavamatra Vastu Shivadam Tapatrayon Mulanam Shrimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Krite Kim Vaparerishwaraha Sadyo Hridyavarudhyate Trakritibihi Shushrushubistatchanat. Hariom and greetings from Niagara Falls. If you have been to Delhi for a vacation, perhaps to visit family, does that mean that you have seen and you know Bharat? Yes or no? What if you have been to Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai? Does that mean you have seen and know Bharat? A Bhagavata Saptaha, that is experiencing Bhagavatam in a week, is better than not experiencing Bhagavatam, but it's like going to Delhi only. Better than that would be Bhagavatam in a summary one has as a book, keeping in mind the summary that you have has not been summarized by Puja Swami Tejomayananda. The speaker and the summarizer are different. That would be like going to Delhi, Kolkata, Chennai, Mumbai. The best way to experience Srimad Bhagavatam is in a course, like we are experiencing today, hour 111. The best way to experience Bharat is to keep on exploring, state by state, city by city, because each state, each city is unique. Same goes with every verse, every chapter, every skanda of Bhagavatam. If for whatever reason, you can't continue with Vedanta and Bhagavata, what would be the message of our 111 hours together? A lovely, powerful quote from Puja Swami Chinmaya. To every thinking man, the truth is obvious. that in life, he is at best only an instrument in his hands. I'll share that again. To every thinking man, the truth is obvious that in life, he is at best only an instrument in his hands. That is the teaching of Bhagavatam. Many of you are in many classes, workshops with me. When we ignore these coverings, ignoring these coverings means I am these coverings. Then we feel baddha. Baddha means small, sad. When I know these coverings, the implication is I know these coverings are coverings on the center. Then I am Buddha. I'm big. I am joyous. At the end of the 86th chapter, we went to Mithila. In Mithila, there are two bhaktas. Bahulashva is the Raja, and Shrutadeva is the Praja, the king and the citizen. And both of them, they live by arpana. They offer to Bhagavan Krishna. Bahulashva, he offers for 1 month. Shrutadeva for 1 day. That is the technicality. But arpana is not based on a technicality. It is based on bhakti. They both offered with the equal bhakti, which is why the prasada for both of them was the same. They both felt that Bhagavan Krishna was with them for 1 day. So we're clear about why this narration is shared in Srimad Bhagavatam. We have a saying in our culture, Yatha Shakti, Tatha Bhakti. Yatha Shakti, Tatha Bhakti, which means if you can offer lots, then offer lots. That is your bhakti. If you can offer little, then offer little. That is your bhakti. If you can offer lots and you offer little, then that is not bhakti. Clear? A lot of depth to these apparently casual interactions. And then we experience chapter 87. To me, the most lovely chapter of the most lovely skanda of the most lovely shastra. Chapter 87 is an Upanishad. For those who have never experienced an Upanishad, now you have. Upanishad is made up of 3 components. Upa means near. Near. For us in 2022, nearness is not possible. A virus is preventing that. But what that equates to is a live experience, yes? So Upa is checked off for us. Ni means nishchayena, with determination. So nearness with determination. For us, that translates as continuation. Year after year, month after month, week after week, we continue. And shad, which actually comes from sad. I'm not saying sad, I am saying sad, which means to destroy. To destroy all that is holding us back. A practical methodology to this, and I'm sharing this from a scriptural narrative and experiential narrative too. All of us don't want to be held back from Bhagavan. Please do not think that Bhagavan is holding himself back from you. Conversely, we are holding ourselves back from Bhagavan. How do we start destroying this holding back? It starts with we, as shishyas, as disciples, respecting the philosophy of our Sadguru. Just respecting it. This philosophy, another word for it would be their shrotriya. How knowledgeable they are, how well versed they are. That respect has to evolve to a love for our Sadguru when we start to observe their practicing of that philosophy. When you observe the philosophy you respect being practiced, then you start to love your Sadguru. What do? They help us to respect the philosophy of the Shastra. Do all of you respect Srimad Bhagavatam more now? How can you not? And then that is to evolve to love when you start to practice what this Shastra is guiding us to, when you follow the script. And that helps us to respect Bhagavan. What this feels like in our lives is where we feel we are the dasa. Dasyam is a form of bhakti, but that is to evolve to loving Bhagavan, where Bhagavan becomes your Sakya. Sakyam, which means a friendship with Bhagavan, a closeness. It goes from respect to love. See, if I'm a servant, if I'm an employee of my employer, I may respect them. I'm the dasa, you're the nata. But the evolution of that relationship is where we're friends. Respect and love, one's Sadguru, to one's Shastra, to one's Bhagavan. And in chapter 87, what we get to here clearly is how much the Shastra loves Bhagavan. And I shared that this would be practical. Whatever you love, you are led towards that. If you love your Sadguru, they're going to lead you to the Shastra. If you love your Shastra, that will lead you to Bhagavan. This chapter ended with a summary of the Parampara. Rishi Narayana shared this with Rishi Narada. Rishi Narada shared this with Rishi Vyasa. Rishi Vyasa shared this with Rishi Shuka. Rishi Shuka shared this with Raja Parikshita. And what did they share finally? Rishi Shuka to Raja Parikshita? Tam Kaivalya. You will be enlightened. You will be free. Nirasta yonim. What does this freedom feel like? You will not be born again. That's in the future, but in the present, abhayam. Please remember the context of Bhagavatam. Raja Parikshita is dying, yes? What do we feel with dying? Even not our own, but someone else dying? Fear. Abhayam. You will feel that in the present. What should you be doing, Raja Parikshita? But please remember, he's already doing this. So who is speaking to who here? Bhagavatam is speaking to us. I think last week I shared Rishi Narayana said this to Rishi Narada, but he didn't. Rishi Shuka said this to Raja Parikshita, but the implication is this is being spoken to us. Dhyayet ajasram harim. Contemplate perpetually, nirastam, with no break on Harim. That is Bhagavan Narayana, Bhagavan Krishna. We continue to chapter 88. I hope we'll be able to reach chapter 89 too. These are most fascinating chapters. Let me start with the Katha and then shift to the Vedanta. Chapter 88. This chapter begins with a question from Raja Parikshita. See how closely aligned Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita are. Most chapters of Bhagavad Gita begin with Prince Arjuna asking a question. Raja Parikshita said, I'll read it in English. It is generally found that among celestials, men, and asuras, those who worship Parameshwara, who is an ascetic living in unclean places like the cremation ground, become wealthy and are given to worldly enjoyments, whereas it is not so with regard to the worshippers of Hari, even though he is the consort of Lakshmi, the goddess of prosperity herself. Here, we have a grave doubt. We want to know why there is this paradox that the followers of these two types of masters with opposite features obtain results that are contrary to the characteristics of the masters. Did you follow that question? Bhagavan Shiva is poor, but gives wealth. Bhagavan Narayana is rich, but takes wealth. Why this paradox? And I love how this is described as a grave question. See the depth of reflection. Okay. A katha is shared to answer this question. There is a personality whose name is Shakuni. And he has a son named Vrika. Vrika was an asura, darkness inside. For those familiar with Sanskrit, Vrika also means wolf. So Vrika Asura is actually a werewolf. So in our modern times, whenever we come across a werewolf, see the origin. Vrika Asura. I'm stating it straight from Bhagavatam. He was wandering and he came across Rishi Narada. And he asked Rishi Narada, which of the Trimurti, Bhagwan, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesha, is most easy to worship and seek a result from? So Rishi Narada says, Bhagwan Shiva. So Vrika Asura travels to Kedara, now known as Kedaranatha, where Bhagwan Shiva is. And he creates this fire. And he has this visualization that this fire is the mukham of Bhagwan Shiva, the face, the mouth. And what he starts to do is he starts to cut off pieces of his own body, his flesh, and is offering this into the fire, the mouth of Bhagwan Shiva. And he does this for a full week. And still Bhagwan Shiva has not come to give him his result. So he's about to cut his head off. And at that time, Bhagwan Shiva manifests and asks, what do you want? And he shares, I want the Shakti that whoever's head I put my hand on, that they should be destroyed. And Bhagwan Shiva, he laughed and said, Tatastu. And as he was doing this, he actually touched Vrika Asura and healed him. So he became his original self. And so now he has this Shakti. Whoever he touches with his hand, they will become destroyed, or they will become Bhasma. So another name of his became Bhasma Asura. Now, as he's looking at Bhagavan Shiva, who is he thinking about? Devi Gauri, Devi Parvati. He has this power now. He should test this on Bhagavan Shiva so that he gets Devi Parvati. And so he tries. And Bhagavan Shiva starts to run. And who does he run to first? Bhagavan Brahma. And he's there, and there's so many others there. And he's asking for help. And they all stay quiet. And one of the reasons for this is Bhagavan Brahma is created. Bhagavan Shiva is the creator in a higher sense. So what can the created do for the creator? So they just stay quiet. So then he runs to Vaikuntha. And Bhagavan Narayana is there. And he sees Bhagavan Shiva running towards him. And he shelters Bhagavan Shiva and simultaneously transforms himself into a Vatu, a young brahmachari, almost like Hanumanji in the Ramayana. And this Vrika Asura is running after Bhagavan Shiva, and he asks this young brahmachari, have you seen Bhagavan Shiva? And this young brahmachari prostrates to Vrika Asura, and they get into this dialogue. And this young brahmachari shares to Vrika Asura, Bhagavan Shiva's like that. He gives, but really he has no power to give. So don't have faith in this Shakti that you have. And he says that I have such clarity about this that I bet you if you put your hand on yourself, it won't work. And so what does Vrikasura do? Puts his hand on himself, and what happens to him? He gets destroyed. There's another version of this katha in another Purana where Bhagavan Narayana becomes Mohini. And when she sees Vrika Asura, she laughs. And that laugh is Yoga Maya that's being directed to him, and she starts to dance. And every move she makes, he makes too. And what was one of the moves that she made? She puts her hand on her head, and what happens to him? Bhasma. What this symbolizes for us, and I think so many of you know this katha. You read this as a comic. I read this as a comic long time ago. Vrika Asura is symbolic for our intellect. And the untrained intellect, what is it always doing? Focusing outside. In other words, I've described to you as it instructs. I have to do this, I have to do that. What is the purpose of the intellect? What should it be utilized for? Not instructing. It should be focused on the inside. It should be inquiring. And Vrika Asura putting his hand on his head is symbolic for us. This is a teaching. When the intellect inquires, it will burn down doership that lives in the intellect, which is coming from the doer, which is the ego. Lovely, no? Okay, let me explain a little bit more before I read to you what verse we're going to highlight from this chapter. Sanatana Dharma is a monotheistic polytheism. If you've not heard that before, listen carefully. If you've not written that down, write it down. You should know these terms. Monotheistic polytheism, which means oneness expressed as manyness. Mono, one, poly, many. One of the frameworks of this polytheism is the Trimurti, that is Bhagavan, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesha. Everyone's with me? Bhagavan Brahma is symbolic for Rajas. Bhagavan Vishnu is symbolic for Sattva. And Bhagavan Shiva is symbolic for Tamas. Think lots about this. These are the gunas, correct? The gunas are an expression of Maya. But what's deeper than Maya? Brahman. Brahman is that monotheistic. Then there's this expression. So now I share with you the verse. This is verse 8, chapter 88, verse 8. Bhagavan Krishna is speaking to a group of seekers about dharma. In this assembly, Raja Yudhishthira is there. And Raja Yudhishthira asked this question about the differences between Bhagavan Shiva and Bhagavan Narayana. See how Rishi Shuka keeps answering the questions by saying, this question was asked before. He's setting precedent. Yasyaham anugrihnami harishye tadhanam shanaihi tato dhanam tyajantyasya swajana dukkha dukkitam. This is a harsh verse. Bhagavan Krishna shares, Yasya aham anugrihnami. For the one that I want to grace. What do? Harishye tadhanam shanaihi. I slowly take their wealth. Tataha adhanam tyajanti. Thereafter, when they become poor, tyajanti, there is a giving up. But who's giving up? Asya swajanaha, their family and friends give that person up. And so, dukkha dukkhitam, the person I grace only goes from dukkha to dukkha. The implication of this verse, on a light level, when do we think of Bhagavan the most and most intensely? In adversity. So now there's a new narrative. The more adversity you face, the more potential you have to learn to intensely remember Bhagavan. The other implication of this, what is the most awful dhana that we all have? We have lots of this. Vasanas, correct? Vasanas. And the more those vasanas are taken away, the more we think about and are close to Bhagavan. Bhagavan Shiva is poor, but gives wealth. He is like sadhana. He's testing us. What are you praying for? What are you living for? And when this wealth comes into our lives, if we get distracted, then this shows that we're not ready. Bhagavan Narayana is wealthy, but what does he give? Poorness. He keeps on advancing us. He keeps advancing us that we will not be distracted, that we will continue to focus on him like Sri Dama. Remember, Bhagavan Krishna gave him clothes and then took those clothes away so that he would not be distracted. Now there's more implication to this, more Vedanta. In this teaching, Bhagavan Shiva is Saguna Brahma. Another word for that is Ishvara. And what do we need to do? This poorness is a poorness towards the gunas. We have to renounce the gunas. Then what does one become? Nirguna Brahma, which we generally call as Brahman. Are all the dots more connected now? Reflect lots on this. This is not a casual sharing of, my dad is more strong than yours and he's going to beat you up. You know, we think about that Bhagavan Shiva and Bhagavan Vishnu. If they got in a fight, who would win? That is not the point. The point is about the purpose of our life and how finally we have to renounce, not externally, but internally, gunas, vasanas. That's the poorness that is indicated so that we are closer and at one with Bhagavan. Please reflect on that. And I'm a poor teacher. I'm just going to keep speaking, okay? Because I want to. I'm not going to stop. I want us to flow through chapter 89 too. This chapter also begins with a question, and the verse that I will eventually reference is most moving. I just want us to hear this as we begin to celebrate Bhakti Anudina. Beginning of chapter 89, Rishi Shuka is sharing with Raja Parikshita. O king, on the banks of the river Saraswati, some rishis started a satra, a sacrifice of very long duration. Among them, a dispute arose as to who among the Trimurti, Trinity, of Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwara is the greatest. O king, to investigate and find out the answer, they deputed Bhrigu, the son of Brahma. Bhrigu went to the celestial assembly of Brahma first. Fascinating chapters. It's almost like comparative religions, but within a religion, which is how comparative religions should be approached. Not amongst different religions, but only your own. Rishi Bhrigu, when he went to Bhagavan Brahma, he did nothing. What was he supposed to do? He is the son of Bhagavan Brahma. He should prostrate to him, but he did nothing. And what happened to Bhagavan Brahma? He became angry that his son is not respecting him. See how real Bhagavatam is? Our kids still call me Appa instead of Pitashri. Then he went to Bhagavan Shiva. Again, he's testing the Trimurti to see who's the greatest. And when Bhagavan Shiva saw Rishi Bhrigu, he got up and went to hug him. And Rishi Bhrigu started to insult him. You're dirty. You think you can hug me? And what happened to Bhagavan Shiva? He became angry. Then he went to Bhagavan Narayana. And Bhagavan Narayana, like all of you, he's half sleeping. He knows his nature and he's engaged in reality. You're all like that too. And so when Rishi Bhrigu came, he went directly to Bhagavan Narayana and kicked him in the chest. And Bhagavan Narayana and Bhagavati Lakshmi, they got up and they started to massage his feet and said, my chest is hard, your feet are soft. Are you all right? There was no anger. And to the extent of saying, now I am Shri Vatsa. Vatsa means chest. And Shri means virtues. You are Rishi Bhrigu. Now these virtues will ever be with me. Rishi Bhrigu approached Bhagavan Brahma as a son, as Bhagavan Shiva as a brother, and Bhagavan Narayana He went as an enemy, really. But you see that there was no sense of anger. Chapters 88 and 89, I hope through your reflections, you're coming to understand and appreciate that Bhagavan Krishna is returning to be Bhagavan Narayana. That's why these fascinating comparative chapters are shared. Now, one more aspect from this chapter. In Dwaraka, there was a Brahmana who, as soon as his infant was born, died. And he was deeply saddened by this. And he brought this infant to the palace of Bhagavan Krishna and shared, this has happened because of you. Sometimes there's a connection that if an unusual negativity is happening, it's because of the leader of that environment. This happens 9 times. Born and dies, born and dies. The 9th time, Prince Arjuna happened to be there. The 9th infant had died, and the Brahmana was yelling into this palace. Prince Arjuna heard this and said, please don't blame Bhagavan Krishna. The next time that your infant is born, I will protect your infant. I will not let Yamadeva touch your child. And so the 10th infant was born, and Prince Arjuna was there, bow out, fortified area. But as soon as that infant was born, that infant died and disappeared into the sky. At the time, Prince Arjuna was so confused by this and angry also, so he went to Samyamini. Samyamini is the abode of Yamadeva, as in the deity of death. And he couldn't find this infant or any of the infants there, so he traveled everywhere. And still he couldn't find them. And he was so dejected that he was going to burn himself. That I can't even protect an infant. I do not deserve this responsibility. At that time, Bhagavan Krishna intervened and said, come with me. And they sat on Bhagavan Krishna's chariot and they started going west. And after they crossed the world, they crossed this universe, they crossed the multiverse, and there is only darkness. And the Bhagavan releases his Sudarshana Chakra, and there's light everywhere. And as they continue to travel, they eventually see this huge body of water that is white in color. And then they see this huge snake that is most beautiful. And then they see this huge being that is lying on the snake, that is lying on the milky ocean, that is most beautiful. And then what happens? This is the verse I want to share with you. It's a most magical verse. Bhagavan Krishna and Prince Arjuna in this chariot see Adishesha. They see Bhagavan Narayana. This is verse 59 of chapter 89. One of the last verses of one of the last chapters. Dvijatmaja me yuvayor didrikshuna mayo panita bhuvi dharma guptaye kalavatirna vavanir bharasuran hatveha bhuyan tvara ye mantime ye tamantime. I'm going to read all of this in English. If you wish, keep your eyes open. If you wish, close your eyes. Achyuta made obeisance to himself in a different form, as a part of his divine play. Arjuna prostrated himself before him with great excitement born of his vision. The Supreme One, the Lord of all divine manifestations, said as follows, smilingly in his majestic voice, to the two standing before him with folded hands. I brought the sons of the Brahmana to my realm in order that I may meet you both. You are both parts of me born on earth to relieve her of the burden of evil men. Having accomplished that mission, come back quickly to my realm. You leaders of men are the incarnations of the rishis, Nara and Narayana. Though you have no desires of your own to achieve, perform your duties in the world for the good of the society and the maintenance of dharma. Commanded thus by the worshipful Lord, they both agreed to abide by his instruction. Then they saluted him and gladly returned with the children of the Brahmana. Arriving at home in as perfect a condition as they left, they gave all the children to the Brahmana, checking their correctness by form and age. By this experience of the supreme abode of Vishnu, Arjuna learned wisdom from the wonder it produced and came to the settled conclusion that all the success that man appears to achieve through self-effort is only by the operation of the Lord's grace. Oh.